So, unpause.
Yep.
So, I'm Google Frog,
I'm Aquanim.
and we played a game and thought we'd talk about it, basically. This is with the new C.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, from previous experience, we're going to refer to each of the ships with some unordered combination of their old names and their new names. So, apologies for any confusion which is caused. We also had some technical difficulties with the I win panel coming up, so just ignore the chat down the bottom. That amounts
Yeah, it's all
to
gone
in
by
the
now.
end.
Don't know what caused that.
So it's kind of the initial raider phase with the cutters, which are like skeeters but longer range.
And there's a hunter.
Which is same kind of vaguely the same role as the old hunter in that it's a torpedo boat, but it's faster, smaller. It's a raider type.
And does a lot more damage than cutter, so it's quite useful to mix in.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a property of the cutter in particular, just like the way the raiding phase turns out here, that because one or both players' units get disarmed, raider battles tend to be very all or nothing compared to other factories.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
You either lose your units and take little damage, or they take little damage, or the other way round, or you run away.
I find you can retreat, yeah.
Yeah. Because the cutter missile fires from the back, you do get a little bit of an edge if you're retreating. In terms of range.
Huh. You can't disable the timer. Oh well, let's just put that off to the side.
Right. So we're both still just making cutters and hunters at this point. Some of the other units come out in a little while.
Yeah, they make for quite interesting raiding pairs.
Something you demonstrated to me the other day quite pointedly is that I mean, even in the stable version C, but just as much here, your commander shouldn't necessarily move very far from your base, because as opposed to in a normal land game where you would in a land game you would want your commander to push forward and expand and take resources for you, but at sea you're likely to just get it killed, and you need to be building a bunch of titles in your base anyway, so you might as well stay there. And by demonstrated, I mean I got crushed in about a 2-minute game. It was a bit embarrassing.
Yeah, you can get 2 hunters will kill a mechs, so it's actually quite a potent raid.
In one shot.
Yes, exactly, in one shot.
Yeah. And so here we see the first Corsair coming out.
Whose was that? Yes, over here.
Yeah, well, actually the second. The first one on the front, I suppose.
Where's the other one? So there is, yes. So it's quite heavy but short ranged.
Yeah, it's a bit slower than the Raiders. It kind of functions as a heavy. It's somewhere in between a riot and a heavy raider. It deals quite nicely with these smaller ships if it can catch them, but you can't always catch them, as we're going to see with this cutter, which I think it runs down and kills one more mechs down here.
Possibly. But it protects the constructor.
Yes. At an earlier point in development, the Corsair had 2-second reload speed instead of 2.5, and that unit was very good.
Here's a new unit. Minstrel's being built.
Minstrel. Yeah, that's kind of like the old Enforcer, but costs 240 metal as opposed to, what was the old one, 900?
Yeah, just completely reweighted. Well,
Yeah.
and also its projectile is quite different.
Well, I think it's most of the same. Just like you only fire one at a time, though. It's
Long range at homes. Well, homes more effectively. Oh, we've got sea wolves over here, which are a lot like snakes.
yeah, it's essentially the same. Like the numbers are a bit different, but if you treat them like snakes, it mostly works.
They do the same kind of thing.
Yeah. All that being said, the things which they kill have changed a lot.
True. The Corsairs are much more useful.
In that they have Corsairs and Mistrals to kill, but they lose. To. Not only do they lose to hunters, they can't outrun hunters.
What happens here? So, I looked for these snakes in the game and couldn't find them, I think. They just seem to kill my things and then run off.
Yeah, I don't remember what I did with that. But so, I think to know about the Fork Sea is that sonar is much more standardized. All of your ships have sonar equal to their vision range, and Urchin has sonar equal to its vision range. So do the amphibious, hovers, and comms. And I think nothing else has. Oh, and Vulture has some sonar, but only up to its jamming range, which is about 700. And nothing else has sonar at all.
Yeah, so it's a bit like radar jamming.
The sonar station doesn't even exist. So you're being underwater is essentially like radar jam.
Except your economy structures can't see.
Yeah.
Which makes it a bit more stealthy if you're trying to raid. So on the left, some Corsairs destroyed this expansion. Down here, I fought off. There's these subs that I lost. They're returning to base apparently.
Yeah, what I did with this. The top right, I've taken that little corner up there, which I mean, as you can tell, this map's a lot like Titanfall. It is in fact Titanfall, just with more water.
And the sky is very starry.
Yeah. The curious thing about wet Titanfall is that the places where you can't path with normal land units, you can path with ships, but not with amphibious units. And I think it's taken us a while to get used to the fact that that place is, so like at the top and the bottom of the map, those ravines are actual path of the ships have to defend from that direction.
Here's your gunships where it starts getting hectic.
Yeah, so I switched into gunships here. I overlooked a bit just how badly Banshees get beaten by Corsairs, unfortunately.
Yeah, but, I mean, other ones wouldn't be able to raid so fast.
Yeah, the Banshees are fast.
So they kill the urchins, or they try to.
I think they try to kill the urchins. The urchins have a fair bit of health. I think the Corsairs come over and drive them off, but
yes,
the Constructor dies before at least one of those units gets built. I might have killed them. I think I killed the other units.
So the Corsairs clean this up.
So you're building a Zephyr, which is exactly, well, except for the fact that it now has sonar, Zephyr is exactly
And I decided to send my army up the top to kill off your expansion instead of doing anything about my base.
By army you mean 2 Mistrals? Because Mistral
look at all these subs and
okay, it's got an escort. But okay, some things to know about Mistral. Mistral outranges Urchin. Mistral outranges Defender. Mistral outranges Stinger. It's the unit's called a skirmisher, and it does skirmish, but it's also an artillery in disguise. Kind of why that unit exists here when it doesn't exist on any surface, on any land factories, is so that ship has better options in the early game for bombarding land targets.
Yeah, to make it interact some more.
You see my Corsairs on the right hand side, just they do a bit of damage, but eventually they just get picked off by submarines.
They get slowed and picked off, yeah.
So I've built a Ronin, which is like Crusader. It doesn't have depth charge sidearm anymore, and it costs more, but it has some area of effect, and it's much tougher. But it's an artillery ship, essentially.
I've actually found with C that there's a lot more reclaim going on.
Yes. Yeah, the game I won against you, which we played earlier, that game I felt like was won almost entirely off reclaim.
I don't know if it's because the models are bigger, but it just feels like there's so much more reclaim to be had.
That could be it. I mean, Corsair's pretty big for a 200 metal unit.
Maybe it's because Marina's quite tanky, you can afford to have it.
So here we see that the Hunters I'm building are not very good against Corsairs. And this is about where the game ends. You actually have very few mechs. It's less mechs than I believe.
Well, you destroyed my right side, and my left side was destroyed earlier.
Yeah.
But I'm in this position.
Yes, I don't beat that army. And
Does Zephyr have radar?
Radar? That's so. I guess it has.
I guess it has radar.
It has radar. Go figure. I didn't know that.
Well,
I'm not sure if I added that. Does Shredder have radar? I'll find out.
probably, as in, it's the kind of thing it might have.
Yeah. I don't know. It's never. Yes, Shredder has radar. The more you learn.
So that was quite close.
Yes,
And
I mean,
very
you had the
open.
army advantage at the end. I don't know if you have the what's it called, the thing which shows you like the amount of metal you've traded.
No, I don't have the attrition counter enabled. There's this graph though.
Oh right, yeah. The attrition counter looks really bad for me. You were trading like almost 2 for 1 or something.
Okay, because my units value is actually very even, but you have slightly more income produced throughout the game.
Yeah, I don't know if gunship was the best switch really. I mean, okay, this is still 0k. Thunderbird is still a good unit.
Yep.
If I'd
Less
switched to
killable
air,
by Corsair.
yeah, if I'd switched to Thunderbird, if I'd switched to air and made Thunderbird, could have gone the other way. I mean, switching to hovercraft, switching to amphibious and making duck is a legitimate strategy.
Yeah, for the surprise, sort of like the opposite of air.
If you're playing on a map which is we tested earlier versions on larger but thinner or dimensional, or what's the word, proportionally thinner maps. So
Like coastal, but less so.
well, bigger than coastal. I think we played on Bellicose Islands for a while. And on a map like that, we have, once the game stabilised a bit and you have a ever more stable front, which is, I imagine, how more team games are going to play out than 1v1 by analogy with the rest of 0k. Switching to hovercraft and making penetrator, we found was really good there.
Ah, yes. Although Siren, the assault ship, has become heavier.
Siren's got heavier. It's got heavier, but so it no longer dies to a single penetrator shot. But I'd be surprised if penetrator is not good.
Oh yeah, penetrator's got to be good still.
In that game, but on playing 1v1s on Titan Duel, we're not getting that game. So, similarly on some maps, Halberd's going to be really good, but you don't need Halberd on Titan playing a 1v1 on Titan Duel to get into somewhere that's not defended.
Yeah, the front is quite open.
You just run some units somewhere. That's how Titan Duel works.
Corsair is really nice for its ability to overrun nests of urchins.
Yeah, I mean, once you start getting up to like half a dozen urchins, it starts becoming painful to do that. But at that point, you build a artillery ship, or
one of the three
to do it quickly, or a Mistral to do it, or a Mistral to if you want to do it cheaper but slow.
I like how Mistral is sort of an out from the Raider game.
Yeah.
Because Corsair can get outmaneuvered a bit. Mistral gives you some stability.
Yeah, but Mistral still scares me. I mean, a skirmisher that outranges Stinger, it seems to be working. C works a bit differently.
Yeah, C's larger and faster, right?
Yeah. I mean, also just the something that's been. I kind of self-evident, but it's been pointed out a couple of times. It's an important thing to keep in mind that the fact that you have the underwater domain to deal with as well fundamentally changes the game. You don't have the Raider Riot Skirmisher, rock, paper, scissors. That triangle is not the only early game thing you have to worry about with ships. You also have to worry about the anti-sub beats anti-surface relationship as well.
With hunters, which are quite easy to pepper through your army.
The scout ship cutter, or what is it, the ship formerly known as Skeeter. It seems like it can be pretty good in the if on a larger map. In the earlier parts of the game, you could actually beat you actually beat Corsair with them because they slightly outrange Corsair, I believe. And once you've disarmed the Corsair, which doesn't take a huge number of shots, it's now helpless. I mean, as the game gets longer and fleets get bigger, that becomes less practical because you do kind of have to surround it to get a decent sustained DPS. And if they have a ball of Corsairs, it's not going to happen. But
yeah, and the turning circles are quite large, so you'll end up with some mosquitoes being caught out.
Yeah, this is one of the things about sea with the larger turning circles. I think they're generally even larger than vehicles. I could be wrong about that, but perhaps not larger, but some of them are certainly slower. I don't know quite. I don't know. I haven't done any science to it or anything, but ship's pretty challenging to play.
Yeah.
The submarine remains kind of unforgiving in that its torpedoes only really fire forwards.
It's so if you 200 degrees, isn't it now?
Ah, well, in theory. Didn't you say you weren't sure if that option actually worked?
No, I think it works.
Yeah.
I could see it in an earlier game firing sideways at ducks.
Right. But still, it can't fire behind it, so if you miss micro your submarines, they won't be shooting at anything at all in a fight. Or they won't be shooting at the right thing, certainly.
They don't take all that long to turn around, so you leave them to their own devices, they should shoot something.
Oh. So I've mentioned, I do have vague plans for putting a light carrier into the ship factory, but that requires some drone technology, which is actually challenging to implement. I don't know when or even if that will happen. That one's a challenging prospect, and I don't know how much a carrier is actually going to affect the ship versus ship matchup. That's more for the purpose of affecting the kind of land battle in a team's game, because that's the other thing about designing ships that not. Let's say when you think about Cloaky Factory, you can think about it as 1v1 matchups with other factories, and you've not entirely, but you've got a pretty good understanding of what the factory has to do in terms of understanding its units, design, and what have you. With ships, not only do you have to think about how does it match up against the other ships and amphibious and hovercraft, you also have to think about once I've won sea with these ships, or once I have some control, what can I do to affect the land fight?
Yeah,
and designing the ships so that you can fight against surface opponents on the surface of the water, and against land targets, and against submarine targets, and you still have some anti-air to put in. The things start getting a little more complicated.
It's quite complicated. Corsair seem decent gunship AA. Mistral might be okay against planes, although it's got pretty low damage.
I'm pretty sure its missiles are too slow.
Oh, they're too slow. They could be faster.
I could certainly change.
They looked a bit funny, a large missile doing not very much damage.
Yeah, like I said, all the stuff like the missile models in effect. That's all subject to change. I figured there wasn't much point in fixing that until the
makes sense.
until I design I was happy with. This is looking promising, I think, in terms of producing interesting games.
Yeah, I think it's going well.
Yeah, how it will stand up to being played in the context of a teams game is an open question. I'm optimistic, but it's an open question. I have no data on that so far. I don't know. There's a better way to get it other than push to the main branch and suck it and see.
You could push to main and then try test battles.
Yeah,
I think
reinstantiate Bleeding Edge.
Yeah,
Suppose that would work.
the artillery ships, Ronin now,
Yeah.
is quite effective, having its depth charge removed and increased
I mean,
health.
well, Crusader was an effective unit before, but even with the depth charge remove, it's still okay.
Yeah,
And the thing I didn't like about the depth charge on Crusader was giving it an option to deal with subs. That wasn't inherently bad, but the part, like, it wasn't great clean design or anything, but it wasn't like inherently dreadful. The problem was when that area of effect depth charge is effective against surface ships, and it's beating torpedo raiders or scouts or what have you.
right. It's a lot more raidable now. Like your one died in this game.
Yeah, I mean, a ship with an artillery an artillery ship with a riot sidearm just seemed a bit.
Yeah, that's a bit problematic.
I mean, on the other hand, the Siren is a riot ship with an artillery sidearm, kind of, but
We didn't build many sirens. They've been better in the past. I think we need a bigger map. We ended up with lots of them.
Perhaps we need more players.
Possibly.
Because I think again, Siren's one of those. Like the one game I remember recently in which we did build Sirens was, or at least I built Sirens, was one of the games we played on Flooded Dune Patrol, where the game went a bit longer and the lines solidified a bit. And it's at that point when your ships don't have to react quickly. That's when Siren's good.
Yeah. You may have wanted it instead of the artillery this game.
Maybe.
Just for the anti-swarm.
That's actually true. Because, I mean, kind of the point of Siren's... Siren's artillery side, its range is as artillery goes, its range is puny. It's like 700. It's barely better than Mistral. But it does clean up urchins, and particularly why it exists is to beat urchins which are on high ground. So,
oh right, with the Impaler style missile.
Yeah, because if you think about, say, Folsom Dam, right, you could have a problem with a urchin built on top of the dam, because none of the other units in the factory actually have an attack which goes up that high necessarily.
Although Crusader Ronin is pretty long range, but yeah, I see your point.
It's pretty long range. You could it could well be okay. I'd have to test it, but Siren gives you a guaranteed answer to something like that. Also, just gives it a bit more punch against statics, because I mean, Siren kind of carries the assault name because it has high health, but its actual gun, the sonic gun, we didn't see it in this game. It's basic. It's a lot like a leveler gun, except it also shoots underwater. It's kind of just
making up the second anti-sub.
Yeah,
to try and stem the tide of ducks.
Scallop everywhere.
Well, scallops and ducks.
Well, in the stable version, see, there's scallops everywhere, but Siren handily beats scallop, I think. Perhaps not like duck. I mean, it would beat duck in a fight, but duck can just go attack somewhere else.
Well, of course. But duck has such short range that Hunter surely beats it.
Well, okay, Hunter beats it, but if you don't have enough hunters, duck can punish you before you build it. Before you have the time to build enough.
Yes, that earlier game.
Yeah. That's kind of what I feel like the duck switch is for. If you're, it's once you get to the point where you can afford to switch to amphibious, like once your economy is strong enough, you can switch to amphibious and not feel that too badly. A push with duck is far more effective at punishing your opponent for not having enough anti-sub than a push with snake with Seawolf is. Because a lot of Seawolf's combat effectiveness is tied up in its slot. And while that's good in terms of fighting some units, it's not so good at ending a game and punishing your opponent for not having enough anti-sub before they can build the anti-sub.
Right, it's sort of slow attrition.
Yeah. Whereas duck has more DPS for its cost considerably, I believe, and you can send, and they're lighter weights, and you can send them more places, and they just run in and end the game.
That is still a worry, the duck being better than Seawolf.
Well, it's better than Seawolf for some things, though.
Yeah, hopefully they can stay separate.
In that
it's got much less range.
Yeah, it's got much less range. It's also, I think it's slower off the top of my head. Also, I think equal cost in duck would be to a Seawolf would be hard pressed to stop a. You would not succeed in stopping a Corsair or two from retreating to nearby urchins, whereas the Seawolf slows them down; they don't get to run away.
A Corsair's slower than ducks.
I actually don't know. Oh, look.
They may be faster than ducks.
Could be. Oh. Okay, Corsair moves at 3.2.
Elmos per frame, that would be.
Yeah.
Because here they say 96 Elmos a second.
Yeah. Duck moves at 2.8.
Yeah,
so yes,
there you go.
Faster than duck.
But Seawolves are quite speedy.
Seawolf's quite speedy and slows down the Corsair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think Seawolf has a role that duck doesn't. But duck also has a role that Seawolf doesn't. Which seems like a good place for those units to be.
Although in team games you can swarm the ducks all over the land. So it will be interesting to see.
There's that too. But I mean, the other side of things is that you have to switch to Amph to make duck. If you don't have Amph already.
Amph and Hover seem less startable now in the 1v1.
Yeah, which I don't know, I think's okay.
I think that's fine if there's enough going on in the C factory.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful that there is. I mean, just as a rule, I don't think C's going to get played as much as land. That would be a bit hard to accomplish. There isn't as much variety in maps. There aren't as many factories, even if you include Amph and Hover. The goal is to make it good for something different and good enough to hold its weight as part of the game in the context of a large team's battle, like on Folsom Dam or Delta Siege.
It's sort of different, yes. You're going to be starting ships probably, but then there's
somebody has to start ships.
Well, as in a 1v1, say, or a small game. You'll have ships, but then there's a lot of switch factories.
Yeah.
Whereas on land, you'll be starting a land factory, which could be any number of things. But you'll make some kind of aircraft.
Yeah, frequently you switch to air first. There are situations where I switch to something else before aircraft, but I think almost always by the third factory, one of your factories is air.
Yeah, surely. This one, we played in Cold or Wet earlier.
That was a while ago, but yeah.
A while ago, yeah, but those games you'd feel like you need all 5 factories.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is ship,
Hover,
you can maybe and the 2 air factories.
You can maybe get away with only planes. Depends on the game.
Yeah, it depends on the game, but it was very...
But I mean, and eventually you want Strider Hub the battleship.
Ah, yes, true. The battleship's quite useful.
Yeah, speaking of Striders, so the battleships, I mean, renamed, but it's still fundamentally the same unit. I think its range is a little bit bigger, just because the Ronin has a little more range than Crusader, and so
it
Cruiser
cheaper?
one of the. Don't think. Maybe I made it cheaper.
Okay, because it felt
I don't-
quite cheap.
Well, it's easy enough to check. Right. Yeah, no, it's 3,800 in stable.
Okay, that is quite cheap for a Strider.
Yeah, so I think it was a narc had said to me, it's like it's like a catapult with more concentrated damage and 12,000 hit points.
Yeah.
I mean, it's C,
right?
it's C, yeah, it's C paths. It's fine, right? It's definitely fine. I don't know if it's fine. It may turn out to not be fun.
Did Corsair have twice the damage per second than Warrior?
And
now it's merely about
cost? Yeah,
180%.
could have done, yeah. It used to have 500 damage per second or so on a 200 cost unit. I mean, the first thing I tried was to move it to 220 cost, and then said, you know what, no, this unit just has to have less damage. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, we haven't seen how that goes against Siren yet, though, but it should be fine.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe the units. I mean, you might need 2 Corsairs to beat a Siren now, but
Which is quite
That's
useful now, and it doesn't even shoot subs.
yeah. And a Siren gets beaten by other things. Anyway, I mean, you can't catch a Mistral. You can't even catch a Ronin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even Boy, apparently.
Yeah, that might have been that might have been before a change. That
Okay.
it failed to beat Bowie. But is it Boy or Bowie?
I always said Boy. Shadow Fury likes to say Boy. Bowie.
Oh, now you're confusing me. Whatever. Yeah, but I suspect even now, Bowie, whichever it is, it should at least hold its own against Siren. But it's starting to get into theory craft, though.
Yeah.
We've played some games, but not enough to. I don't fully understand half the factors in the game now, and I've been playing for 2 years. We've played a dozen games of this, and it's changing all the time. Maybe a few more than a dozen now.
Maybe it doesn't here.
Yeah.
We need some good C maps, I think.
Yeah, that's also a challenge. I mean, Flooded Titan Shell's a pretty good map.
Yeah. It's got... I'm not sure what it is with the normal C maps. They feel very speed metal-y, or very thin.
Well, yeah. I kind of like Flooded Valley. Okay. I like Flooded Valley as a map, but for 2v2. I think
Flooded Valley is just sort of an interesting
I think both
cheese
also
triangle.
There are a few C maps which are really quite good if you played 2v2 and plopped ship and nav. Because there's just too many mountains on the map which you have to be able to deal with. So I suppose on Cull you could plop hover and ship. Right.
Cull. Yes.
Cull. So yeah, on Cull and Flooded Valley, there's
We haven't played Cull yet. That would be interesting.
Yes, I think it's got too many. It'd be really weird.
I think it's going to be hover still. Just because you can raid so well with them.
Yeah, and there's too many mechs you wouldn't be able to get with Mariner.
Are you sure? Marina's got long range.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're too far inland. I could be wrong, but I think so. I think you get some, but not all with Mariner, I believe. Cull's a weird map. Even in the current stable version, I have no idea how to play on that map. Yeah, I think both Cull and Flooded Valley are better 2v2 maps.
Yeah, you have some more fleshed out things.
Yeah, I mean that there are some other sea maps which are fine for teams. Like, I know Sail Away is a bit funny, but just Inculca Wet, Dead Reef's not bad. I don't know about Small Supreme Islands. Sands of War. Why haven't we been playing on Sands of War? That map's okay.
It's okay. It's quite small.
Yeah, it is kind of small, but it'd be a nice map for it to be okay on, if it is.
It would be a nice map for it to work, because that map's been around forever.
That's a TA map, isn't it?
Possibly, I'm not sure.
Gods of War is.
Ah, okay.
I believe.
The ships may be larger. They might be too large for Sands of War. I wouldn't be surprised if Hovercraft and Amp were easily viable there.
Yeah, okay. I mean, there's enough islands.
There are islands to hide on and to raid from. There's...
I don't remember playing in Paradise Lost ever. I'm sure I must have once. Still there?
Yeah, Paradise Lost, not sure.
I don't even know what that map looks like.
I think we've gone for over twice as long as the game.
The actual game now. Yeah, it might be time to wrap this up. I gotta go to bed.
It's getting late.
Alright, well, hope you enjoyed listening to us blather on for ages, and if you, assuming you watched this far, if you didn't, then you're not listening, but I hope you enjoyed watching the game.
Yeah, game was quite interesting. I think it's turning out well.
Okay.
Okay, see ya.
See you around. Bye-bye.